Seeking answers from ashes. Seeking answers.
Welcome to The Explainer. So today, we're getting into a really sticky situation. Literally. A huge tank of molasses explodes and it kicks off this massive multi-crore insurance fight. What happens when an insurer just says no to a claim? And more importantly, is the first reason they give the only one that actually matters? Okay, so let's set the scene. It's about 9 o'clock at night, April 2008, at a sugar mill in Uttar Pradesh. All of a sudden, boom, this massive storage tank just bursts open, and all the molasses inside comes flooding out. It was, as you can imagine, a very expensive disaster. And we're not talking about a small spill here. The mill lost a fortune in product. So, naturally, they file an insurance claim for over 1.69 crore rupees, thinking, their standard fire and special perils policy has got them covered. But of course, it wasn't that simple. The national insurance company takes a look, sends their surveyor out to investigate, and then they denied the entire claim, flat out. So the insurer's official position, right there in the denial letter, was pretty clear. They said this wasn't an accident that the policy covered. No, they claimed the whole thing happened because of simple wear and tear on that 27-year-old tank. Their surveyor basically went in and concluded that the tank's metal plates failed just because they were old, weak, and worn out. As far as they were concerned, it was a simple open and shut case of mechanical failure. Nothing more to see here. The sugar mill, though? Oh, they were not having it. They completely disagreed. They weren't just going to write off a multi-crore loss because the insurer said the tank was old. So they decided to fight back and launch their own investigation. And this is where we get a classic battle of the experts. On one side, you have the insurance company's guys saying the tank was old and just gave out. But on the other side, the mill's expert, a chartered engineer, came up with a totally different theory. He said, no, the tank itself was perfectly fine. The real problem was a chemical reaction happening inside the molasses, which created this enormous pressure, and that's what blew the tank apart. So to prove their point, the sugar mill came to the table with 3 really solid pieces of evidence: their own detailed failure analysis, a government certificate saying the tank was fit for use, and this is the best part, an inspection report from the insurance company itself. And this evidence was pretty compelling. The mill's expert found 0 mechanical defects. A government agency had literally certified the tank was safe. But here's the real kicker. The insurer's own inspection, done just a month before the explosion, had described the facility's maintenance as outstanding. Ouch. So with all this evidence in hand, the sugar mill takes the case to the National Consumer Disputes Redressal Commission. Now, faced with this, you'd think the insurance company would double down on their wear and tear story. But nope, they pulled a fast one and introduced 2 brand new reasons for denying the claim. First, they accused the mill of hiding that government fitness certificate. And second, they pointed to a little exclusion clause buried in the policy's fine print. And get this, the clause said the policy doesn't cover damage from excessive pressure. They were literally using the mill's own expert testimony against them. Now, that seemed like a really clever move, right? It looks like they've got the sugar mill backed into a corner. But the mill's lawyer had an ace up their sleeve, and it was all based on a really fundamental principle of insurance law. And here is the crucial point. The Supreme Court has ruled on this again and again. When an insurance company denies your claim, the reasons they put in that first official letter are the only reasons they can use to fight you in court. They can't just make up new arguments down the line. And that one single, powerful point of law, well, it ended up deciding this entire multi-crore fight. The court totally sided with the sugar mill. They upheld this critical principle, which is known as repudication finality. And the logic is pretty simple. An insurer has to tell you exactly why they're denying you, up front, and then they have to stick to that story. No moving the goalposts later. So because of this principle, the court just refused to even listen to the insurer's new arguments. The whole non-disclosure thing, the excessive pressure clause, all of it was thrown out. They were simply too late. That left only the original reason, wear and tear, which the court decided was totally contradicted by the sugar mill's very strong evidence. So the final verdict was a massive win for the sugar mill. The court ordered the insurance company to pay up nearly 85 lakh rupees plus 6% annual interest, going all the way back to when they first said no in 2009. So what's the big takeaway from this whole sticky mess? Well, it's a really powerful piece of information for anyone who has an insurance policy. The first reason an insurer gives you for denying a claim is the only one that will count in court. This principle forces them to be transparent from day one and stops them from just inventing new excuses if you decide to challenge them. It was a messy situation for the mill, for sure, but it leaves all of us with a crystal clear legal lesson.